Hi there, thanks for tuning in. My name is Rachel Ped, an avid builder in The Sims 4, and together with Zolo, we have decided to create 3 videos for you today, recreating 3 iconic homes in the beautiful country that is Canada. Now, Zolo is Canada's largest independent real estate marketplace, and more than 11 million people use Zolo Online or the Zolo app each month to get the latest listing information. And we've decided to team up and create 3 houses together. Now, this particular house is located in a beautiful city called Calgary. Now, Calgary is located in the Prairie province of Alberta, which is in the centre of the Canadian oil industry, which is super interesting. Now, what's really interesting about this particular city is that it actually has a nickname, and it's called Cowtown, which I think is really, really fitting, especially for The Sims, because if you are not familiar with The Sims, we actually have a really silly plant called a cow plant. So I thought this was a really sort of fun idea for this particular town and house. And this house is 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Now, in real life, this house costs 606,000 Canadian dollars, but in The Sims that actually translates to 69,436 simoleons. So that's one of the reasons that we actually decided to collaborate, because I think a lot of times when people are shopping for houses, sometimes you're shopping for houses because you need a home to live in. Sometimes you're shopping for houses just for the fun of it, and we thought it would be really interesting to see how that translates in The Sims, because obviously, as we know in The Sims, the currency is a little bit off. You know, we're talking about simoleons here in a video game, so we didn't think that it was going to come anywhere near the actual listing price of the house in real life. So it was really, really interesting to sort of see that evolve throughout the entire process. Now, like I was saying, the exterior of this house is actually, it's quite basic, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's a beautiful house, but the interior is where this house really shines. And when I was sent this listing, I was blown away by how this property was listed and shown. I think it looks absolutely beautiful throughout the entire house. I did decide to build this house in Copperdale, which is a world that's shipped with an expansion pack that came with The Sims 4 high school years, because I thought it kind of represented Canada, or it represented Canada in the best way that we can in The Sims currently. So I do hope you agree. But now we're moving on to the interior, and we do start with the open plan living, dining, kitchen area. That's one of the things I really loved about this house, was the open floor concept. It's not really something that we have in the UK, or it's something that we have in the UK, but it doesn't seem to be as common as it is in the US and Canadian homes. So it was really refreshing for me to be able to sort of try and replicate this beautiful house with this open floor plan. So the living room came together, I wouldn't say very quickly, because I was working from certain reference images from the listing on the actual house itself. So usually when I do my interiors of my Sims builds, I just do whatever I want. But it was really, really important for the collaboration with Zolo to actually recreate as best I could the actual listing and make sure that everything was accurate. So that was really, really important to me. And I love the color palette that the family has chosen with this house. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's not a color palette that I often explore, nor a color palette that I have in my own home in real life. So this was really, really refreshing for me to explore. There's a lot of whites, creams, neutrals, but then paired with this really, really beautiful, like, warm wood tone on the flooring. I think it works so well. I really like how the living room is laid out, because usually what I would do is I would set the TV above the fireplace, but actually the family had the TV on this little TV unit over on the right hand side here. So I thought that worked really, really well with the space as well. And some of the houses that I built actually had floor plans already, so that was really, really easy for me to recreate, but some of them didn't, so I was allowed to have some creative liberties. I believe this is one that I actually had access to a floor plan though, so I don't think I stayed too far away from that when I was actually building this, or at least I don't think I did. They've all kind of merged into one at this point, because I had such a blast creating these houses. But yeah, this is the dining area here. Again, all open floor concept. So the dining space is sort of located just on the left hand side of the living room area here. So I can imagine that this is wonderful if you like doing family gatherings or having friends over and socializing. It probably just works really, really well. And then we move on to the kitchen area here. The kitchen is beautiful in this house. It's really light and airy and really cozy at the same time, but it just has this really sort of modern feel to it too, which I actually really, really like. And this was just an utter joy to recreate this house on the inside. It's beautiful. As I said at the beginning, the house is so well presented and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's an interior decor style that I really, really like. And what I love about recreating real houses in The Sims is that oftentimes when I'm building houses in The Sims, I'm obsessed with like matching wood swatches and things, but actually in real life that's not how people have their homes. And this is a perfect example of you do not have to match wood swatches in your home to have a beautiful home. This is an absolute prime example of that, and I adore how this house came together. I also really, really like the island area here that we've got going on, because it actually ends up separating really beautifully the living area from the kitchen space too. Now what we're doing here is we're actually pulling out some clutter pieces, because I did notice, although minimal, there was some slight clutter on the kitchen counters, because I was told. Now, my usual Sims builds are extremely cluttered and detailed, but the beauty with these builds is that because they are on, obviously, Zolo, the website that actually lists them, they didn't need to be super lived in. They were definitely decorated more towards having the houses on the actual market, so it was so much easier for me to delve in and just try and recreate each room by room. And then we do move on to the upper floor here. Now, this room on the floor plan was actually called a bonus room, which I thought was really, really interesting, because I would have assumed that this would have been the main bedroom or the primary bedroom, depending on how you sort of describe it. But actually what the family who currently live here decided to do is turn this into a second seating area. So this is perhaps where the kids would chill out after school and maybe watch some TV, do their homework and things like that. And again, not something that I'd ever considered in a Sims build of mine when I usually build them. So this is a complete eye-opener for me. I've developed so many ideas so far just by having a look at these house listings, and I'll be definitely taking them away and applying them to my Sims builds too. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I tried to replicate each room as closely as I possibly could. Obviously within The Sims, the items are going to be slightly different, and the way that the decor just sort of comes together is going to be slightly different, but I really did try to replicate each room by room really accurately. So I'm really, really hoping that I achieved that. And yeah, I just think it turned out really, really well. And I love the fact that this is called a bonus room. In the UK, we wouldn't really call this that. This would still be classed as a bedroom on a floor plan, I believe, from a UK floor plan anyway. So we're just finishing up with some finishing touches here, and then we do move on to the bedrooms. Now, just like the rest of the house, the bedrooms are quite plainly decorated, but I think they're absolutely beautiful. One thing I did notice about the bedrooms in particular is that they were carpeted, which I think works so much better in bedrooms. That's just a personal preference. Just feels a little bit cozier and a little bit more homey, at least in my opinion. But this is the main bedroom. Now, it does have an ensuite off to the left hand side there as well, which is really, really handy. And then we move on to the second bedroom, and then we do move on to the third bedroom as well. I actually really like the flow of the entire bedrooms on the upper floor. I like how they have very similar like color schemes, and I just think it flows absolutely beautifully. But that pretty much sums up this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Zolo, for this partnership. I had an absolute blast building this beautiful house. Don't forget to check out Zolo's website if you are in the market to purchase a house in Canada, or if you are looking for some interior decor sort of ideas. I know that I will be definitely having a look myself throughout the entire website. But thank you so much again. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.